Okay, there we are. We're live. How's everyone doing out there?
Hello, everybody.
I hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, 3-day weekend. Did some cool stuff. Radlin and I were in Chicago, so we did some fun stuff. Welcome to our Facebook Live. My name is John Gardner. This is my wife and law partner, Radlin Mendoza,
Hi, guys.
and we are the immigration law firm Gardner and Mendoza. We come to you every Wednesday night from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and we give you immigration updates and we answer your questions. So if you have a question, make sure you get it posted. We take them in the order that they come in, just like USCIS processes cases, first in, first out.
Sometimes.
And I do want to tell you that what we do here is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not legal advice. And I also want to say hi to all the folks here on TikTok, because we're on Facebook Live, we're on TikTok at the same time. And so hello to everybody out there on TikTok. Bring your questions. We usually get a lot more questions on TikTok than we do on Facebook. So if you're on TikTok and you feel like it's taking too long for us to get to your question, I'll give you a little hack. Hop over to Facebook, and I promise you, your question will get answered.
Oh, that is actually a good hack.
Yeah, that's a hack. Oh, and we have somebody joining us this evening from an undisclosed location in the Midwest, a few states over from Illinois. That'd be my mother. Hi, Mama. How you doing?
Hello.
All right.
Well, before we go, I do want to give a shout out to the people who had to work on Labor Day, who had to work on Monday. There are many of you out there who had to work on Labor Day. Restaurant workers, my doctor's office was actually open on Labor Day. So many people had to work. All retail, all the employees at Costco.
That's right. That's because of all the big sales, right? They got to be ready for the crush of people coming in for the Labor Day sales.
I am sharing, but go ahead. So we have a couple of updates, right? Before we get into the questions.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for this to load. Does it seem like something is? Sorry, folks. I'm just making sure that we're all good here.
Are we live?
Yes, we are live.
Okay, guys on TikTok, if you can't hear us or if there's any type of issue, just let us know and we will try to fix
it. Yeah, make sure that you let us know. One update that we wanted to share with you is that in October, you're not going to be able to use paper checks or money orders anymore with filing. So if you're one of the people out there who is not using an attorney and has decided that you're going to try to do this alone, which is, in my opinion, a bad idea. But if you're one of those people going that route, just be aware that if you send paper check or a money order after October 28th, your case is going to not go forward. They will not be accepting that check.
Is that Sammy? Maybe it is. I don't know. It's looking familiar. If it is Sammy, hi Sammy. I think that our daughter has joined our live. Cute.
Yeah, I don't see that, but
right there. Anyway. Yeah, so not accepting paper checks and money orders is a very big deal. They will be pulling funds. You can do ACH transfers. That's the only way you can pay a National Visa Center fee bill is through an ACH transfer. And they will also be taking credit cards. So you can charge your application fees. Now, here is a big caveat with regard to charging. And, if you guys have watched our live, if I'm animated and the hands start going, that means it's probably important, but this is a big deal. Sometimes our clients will pay the filing fee with the credit card, and what it is, it's basically a form, a paper form, and you write your credit card information on it. You write the amount of money that you're going to charge and that you're authorizing USCIS to charge, the Department of Homeland Security to charge, and you're signing it. So when we put that on top of your applications, then that's the first thing that they're going to see. They're going to try to run that card, input that information, and you think everything will be okay, right? No, we have actually had a couple of issues, several issues. So this has become such a problem that we don't even allow our clients to pay by credit card anymore. And it's because, number one, there's user error in the inputting of that form, right? There's user error when USCIS gets the package. There's user error. They could actually just type in your credit card number wrong, incorrectly, and then it's going to get kicked back, right? And then they're going to send you your package back. That's one thing that we believe is happening. The other thing that has happened, which is a little bit strange, is that, well, this is not strange. Your credit card may send you a fraud alert. Let me say, hey, this government agency is trying to charge $3,005 on your credit card. Do you authorize? Maybe you don't see it. You know, sometimes we don't see these alerts.
Mm-hmm.
It could come to your email. It could come to your phone if you have all of that together, if you have it connected. And if you don't see it and if you don't authorize the charge, guess what's going to happen? It's going to decline. And this has happened before. And then the other thing that can happen is that, you know, you don't have enough credit, right? You don't have enough credit, and maybe you think that you do, but these are all problems that we have had with credit cards getting basically getting declined. And then the last thing that has happened is that one time only. Okay, this has only happened one time. Our client, after we charged after we filed their package, our client forgot, right? They forgot that they're paying the Department of Homeland Security, you know, $3,000. This was before the filing fees went up, which I don't even remember what the fees were. $1,760. I don't remember. And they called their credit card and did a chargeback because they did not recognize it. And so, of course, all of that came back. So just be careful with both your ACH transfer, and when you're completing that, I mean, it's going to have to happen, and also with your credit card. So just be really, really careful with that. It will be interesting to see what happens for a common case that we do, which is adjustment of status here in the United States. When our clients are eligible to do adjustment of status, you can e-file the I-130 petition, but you cannot yet e-file the I-45. So we file it all together because we don't want one going here and the other going here. So you're going to have to make sure that that credit card is all good, and there's money in the bank when you do the ACH transfer, because it is going to just be a piece of paper where we're putting your account information in. So just a little tip.
Yeah, and watch for expiration dates on the cards, and be careful. You know, sometimes if you lose a credit card and you call the credit card company and you cancel the card and they say they'll reissue you a new card, and you forget that you still have this pending filing fee out there. So just, yeah, really, really be careful with the credit cards, because, you know, this filing, you know, it's kind of like a one-shot situation. You know how long these things take. And, you know, if it bounces back, it's a problem, and then you're back in the back of the line again. So that's why with immigration law and any case that we're filing, we just really are careful to get it right the first time. Do it once. It's like the bar exam. Do it once, do it right, never do it again. That's the goal. That's the goal.
That is the goal. That does not always happen, but that's absolutely the goal.
Yeah, and credit cards, I mean, that's going to be something you have to do now, or an ACH draw from your bank account.
Yep.
Well, not now. End of October.
Yep. And, you know, tell your friends, tell people who may be in the community, who may be doing filings, that this is the case, because not everyone will know this, right? They may think it's business as usual. Our clients love paying with the money order. Fun fact, maybe not so fun, USCIS actually prefers a personal check over a money order. And so our clients always like, come and get the money, or I'm gonna get the money order. But anyway, just if you have friends or you're in the community, just please let people know, and you can even share this video. So, all right, do we have a first question?
We do have a first question. We have a question here from NATO CD that wants to know, can you apply for citizenship if you qualify for the petty offense exception? They said exemption, but they mean exception.
Yeah. So this question is, it's going to good moral character, right? So if you have a charge and a conviction within 5 years of applying for U.S. citizenship, they may find that you are not a person of good moral character because of this charge or conviction. So one very common thing is, let's just do here in Virginia, reckless driving, speeding is a class 1 misdemeanor. Okay. So let's just say your class 1 misdemeanor stayed as a class 1 misdemeanor when you got your reckless driving ticket. Now this, guys, is a traffic ticket, essentially, but it is a class 1 misdemeanor here in Virginia. And
And what that means is that in Virginia, for reckless driving, it's punishable by up to 12 months in jail and a $2,500 fine. So
Right.
It's a jailable offense up to a year.
Right. So if this person actually got a 12-month, all of it suspended sentence, then they wouldn't be eligible for this petty offense exception, because the petty offense exception, basically you have to not have gotten any type of active or suspended jail time over 180 days. So that is not what this person is asking, though. He wants to know, or she wants to know, what if my charge or conviction falls under the petty offense exception? Am I going to be able to naturalize nowadays? So John and I were speaking about a really important update, what USCIS was going to start doing, and they're going to take a more, what's the word? Holistic approach.
Holistic approach. We talked about this last week, by
Yes.
the way. If you want to hear more about it, you can also go find that last week's.
Right. So USCIS is going to take a more holistic approach to looking at applications. And while, under the Immigration and Nationality Act, a petty offense exception, you can still apply for U.S. citizenship. But if you have this charge and conviction and it falls under the petty offense exception, and let's just say this is the only thing that you've had in 5 years, right? This is this class 1 reckless driving misdemeanor. But what if during your interview, the officer you have found out has gone and talked to your neighbors, because they're also going to be instituting the neighborhood visits. And for people who are applying for U.S. citizenship, they are going to talk to your neighbors and don't know what they're going to ask. Is he a good guy? Is he whatever they're going to ask? Now, let's say that your neighbor says, this guy is terrible. I mean, he has parties here every night. He's look at his yard. He doesn't even clean up his yard. The city has actually given him civil tickets because his yard and his lawn is always just so high. And one time his dog got out and the dog catchers had to come out and get his dog. This guy is a terrible neighbor. And then they have the petty offense exception. They have the petty offense, right? The conviction, and you have the conviction. And then let's say that 10 years ago, you got a DUI. So this is outside of the good moral character period, right? We're not looking at convictions in the outside of the good moral character period. Now, and back in 1999, you applied for bankruptcy. And because of that bankruptcy, you've never really been able to establish your credit. Your credit score is really low still. Now, what do you think? Are we gonna let this guy become a U.S. citizen? Is he gonna cut it?
Depends.
Does it depend?
It depends. He's gonna have to. He's got some strikes against him there, so then he's gonna have to, or she is going to have to show some positive qualities. Like, yes, all of that is true. However, I can also show that I volunteer for the kids soccer team where I'm a coach. I'm a member of the PTA. I have gotten on a payment plan to get some of the back taxes paid, and I've been making all those payments on time. And so it's going to be this big weighing I don't want to say game. It's not a game, but a process, a weighing process to see whether the good stuff outweighs the bad stuff, essentially.
And there are still going to be those statutory bars to becoming a U.S. citizen. You know, like if you haven't paid your taxes, right? You're going to be not a person of good moral character. If you haven't supported your dependents in that 5-year period, if you have a conviction that does not fall under the petty offense exception. I mean, so it's going to be very interesting. You know, if you asked us this question prior to the announcement a few weeks ago, then the answer would have been yes, you can apply, and you most likely will be getting approved. It is going to be interesting now, and we do have a recommendation for those who are applying for U.S. citizenship. Bring something in, you know, that shows that you're a good person, whatever that means, right? If you're an employee that shows up to work on time every day and no issues, maybe you can get your supervisor or your boss to write you a letter of recommendation. A lot of people try to bring in letters from their religious institution, their church, their mosque, their temple. Previously, you know, for an N400s, we don't need any of that. Like, you know, leave your letters at home that you're a good person. But now that may be different. So I highly recommend. We can absolutely help you with your U.S. citizenship and evaluate, and, you know, kind of look at these things as USCIS will, right? Holistically, in totality. And you know, I would, if this is the only thing that you have, and your neighbors did say you were a bad person, and you did let the dog run around, and you do have bad credit, I mean, I would still file this case. You know, everything else being equal and everything else being fine. If you don't have a deportable offense, right? The worst that can happen is they deny your N400 application. Guys, it doesn't matter if they deny your N400 application. That doesn't mean you're going to get deported, right? You're just going to remain a permanent resident of the United States for the time being. So I think we have had questions where people say, and people who meet with us, and they say, yeah, so am I going to get deported if they deny my N400 application? No, you're not going to get deported. You're just not going to swear in to become a naturalized U.S. citizen. So we are going to see how this plays out. And, you know.
Yeah, and if you come to see us and we identify something that is going to cause a problem, then we obviously would advise you not to file. I mean,
Right.
that's, you know, that's part of what we do as well. Is if we see something that we know is going to just create a whole new problem for you, then we're going to just say, you know what, leave it alone, don't do it.
Now's not the time.
And, you know, I would add as well to be careful if you do have a case that gets denied because of some like criminal conviction, for example, that doesn't necessarily make you deportable. They say, look, this is not a deportable offense, so we're not going to make you leave the U.S., but we're also not going to let you become a citizen. We're denying your case. Be careful, because that conviction still might be something that makes you inadmissible. So once that's on your radar and has come to your attention that you have this problem, you really should consult with an attorney before you travel if you're planning on traveling outside the United States, because you may have a problem coming back in.
We can get into travel. I'm sure that question will come up later.
Yeah, of course.
But let's take a couple of questions. Maybe it will be a question. Guys, the traveling is a really big deal. We've got a couple of travel videos on our TikTok, and take a look at them.
Yeah, and let me ask you a follow-up question. You were talking about the petty offense exception, and well, this person was, and wanting to know if it was going to be a problem. What if it didn't fall into the petty offense exception, but it's outside the time frame?
Yeah, I mean, if it's outside of the time frame, then yes, prior to these this holistic approach that USCIS is taking, again, they're saying we're not going to just look at the things that you didn't do, right? We are now going to take a look at things that show you in a better light.
Yep.
And so if it's outside of the 5-year good moral character period, again, 3 years, if you are married to a U.S. citizen who's been a citizen for 3 years and you've been living with that U.S. citizen for at least 3 years, or you fall under the 1-year good moral character period if you are applying through military. We're going to have to take that into consideration, right? So you have one reckless driving class 1 misdemeanor conviction with a 12-month suspended sentence. Now that usually doesn't happen, right? But maybe it could. And it's outside of the 5-year good moral character period.
Right.
Should that person be able to naturalize? Yes, that person should be able to naturalize. This is the only thing that you have. Your neighbors think you're great. You never let the dog, you always picked up your dog poop, right? Outside of your neighbor's house. I mean, these are the things that, and we are teasing a little bit about this because it can be something as small as that, right? If they're actually going to talk to your neighbors about whether you're a good person, whether you deserve to become a U.S. citizen. It could be something as harmless as your neighbor having a grudge against you, perhaps. So again, we're going to have to wait to see how all of this plays out.
Yeah. And again, this would be another you really should have an attorney representing you, because in the past where, you're just like, okay, I meet these basic requirements and I don't have any of these things that disqualify me. I can check no to these 6 things here, and I know that I'm not disqualified, so I should be good to go. That's not going to be enough going forward. It's not just that you don't have these things. You're going to also have to show some positive things. It's going to take time for this to completely roll out. And
Absolutely.
So I would also urge you, if you're thinking about naturalizing, now is the time to move quickly, because the longer this works into the system and the more and more things they start adding that they want to see, it's just going to get harder and harder. And so I would, try to get in right now and get out as quickly, get it done before too much changes going forward. That's my advice to you. That's not legal advice. That's just good advice.
Yeah. And, we talk about this. We talk about this at our meetings. And I truly feel bad that I wasn't able to influence some of you out there or persuade some of you out there in the last 4 or 5 years to apply for U.S. citizenship, right? You didn't do it. You still didn't do it.
And it would have been a whole lot easier if you'd done it a couple of years ago.
Or to go ahead and petition for your parent, or to, do whatever it is that you had to do. But specifically, we're talking about U.S. citizenship here, because this is only going to get harder in the next couple of years. This is a big deal. This is a huge deal that USCIS and immigration officers are taking a holistic approach to N-400s and then going to go visit neighbors. It's a big deal because it's very subjective, right? Who's to say this is good or this is bad? It's very subjective. It's also going to cost, it's going to take a lot more time for your case to be adjudicated. Guys, N-400s have been getting processed within 4, 5, 6 months for a couple years now. And it's actually on steroids right now, or had been, where our clients are applying for U.S. citizenship and getting sworn in, 3, 4 months later. So I think the opportunity is definitely still there. Just know that is it September 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
September 3rd, 2025, I told you again that this process was going to get harder and it's going to get more expensive, because that's just the way it is right now.
Yep.
All right.
Doors open. Get through it. Go. Go.
Yeah, exactly.
Radlin always teases me. She says I use too many not too many sports metaphors.
I didn't say that.
Just a lot of sports metaphors.
I didn't say you use too many. I said
I use a lot of sports
metaphors. Said, isn't it interesting that so many of our conversations have to deal with sports and war metaphors. I never said you use too many.
Well, I use a lot of them. And if you're a football fan, this is like, a running back and there's a hole. And if you got to get through the hole before it closes, you got just a second, you got to make that decision and hit the hole. And if you get through, you're going to get a big gain way downfield. But that hole is going to close very, very quickly because that line is going to bottle it up. So the second you see it go, there's a hole right now. The lineman got it open, and all you got to do is just go through it.
We need a whiteboard to put like the
X's and O's.
The X's and O's, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
No, absolutely. Right. There's a great opportunity. The opportunity is still there. Take it while it's open.
Yes. Okay.
Let me reintroduce ourselves because people may not have understood that exchange. My name is Radlin Mendoza, and this is my husband and law partner of 25 and 27 years, John Gardner. And we are the founders of Gardner and Mendoza Immigration Law. Our office is located in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We represent people in all 50 states and all around the world as immigration attorneys representing foreign nationals who are trying to stay in the United States or trying to come in the United States. We do family immigration as well as business immigration.
Yeah.
So
we take a lot of pride. We do it with expert care and first class service. We really do.
Absolutely. And John and I met in law school. So that's how we ended up here.
Right. Okay. We have another question here on TikTok. I have a VAWA case pending. Can I travel inside the country, and can I be deported if ICE detains me?
So that person's name is Melody, I think.
Yes.
Melody. So Melody, number one, I hope you have an immigration attorney. Number one. Number two is you have the VAWA case pending. Did you concurrently file your green card application, your I-45? Did you concurrently file your I-45, and did you apply for your work authorization? Do you have your work authorization card? You can apply, you can travel within the United States with your, a real ID. Your work authorization card is going to suffice as a real ID identification for Customs and Border Protection and TSA. So, I would encourage you to speak with your immigration attorney and ask that question. I don't know every nuance of your case, right? You're talking about traveling domestically, though. You're not asking about traveling outside of the United States. So the second question, so number one, if you have your work authorization card and or you have a real ID, state ID, like your driver's license or state identification, you should be able to travel within the United States with those documents. The second question is, if ICE detains me, will they deport me? That I cannot answer. I can't even answer that. If, you would think, right? You would think that you as a person with a VAWA application pending and a green card application pending, if you do have one, and your work authorization, that if for some reason you were questioned or picked up or whatever ICE is doing right now, if you were picked up by ICE, that they would not put you in deportation proceedings because you already have a process that is ongoing. However, all bets are off, actually. All bets are off, and you have to just be really careful. I would say that I think that you are safe, but it's hard to say. It really is. So you got to have your ducks in order, right?
In a row.
Your ducks in a row. Okay, right? You got to have your ducks in a row, and you need to carry your documents on you. Put it on your phone, right? If you have your work authorization, obviously make sure that it's up to date. VAWA cases can take a really long time. So make sure that you are renewing your work authorization if you're working. Even if you're not working, renew your work authorization because that's the one ID that you have. Carry your VAWA receipt with you. Carry your I-485 receipt with you.
Yeah.
Take all the precautions. Be overly prepared. But
yeah, there's a lot with immigration that's very fluid right now with executive orders and just uneven enforcement, and some of it's very sloppy. It's just it's changed so quickly, and it's changing so quickly that even agents out in the field, I think, are not always on the same page with what they're supposed to be doing. Anytime you're implementing anything with the law quickly, you're going to have a lot of confusion. And I think that that's what's happened here in large part in many aspects of immigration law. And so I'm with Radlin. I would definitely try to have as much with you. And that goes for anybody, by the way. I've been saying this for several months now that, if you have any kind of a case pending, anything that you have filed, any receipt notices that you have, anything like that, I would carry copies of all that with you, because the more you have with you, the less likely somebody's going to get, and I don't mean like an ICE agent who's coming to look for you. I mean, just, law enforcement. Let's not forget, even local law enforcement has discretion and a jailable offense, whether to make an arrest or not. And, they're not supposed to be doing immigration work, but if they're suspicious about a situation, they may be more inclined to exercise the discretion they already have to make an arrest, thinking, well, it'll also lead to some clarity on this other immigration issue. And if you have something that shows that you're doing something, I just think the odds of that go way down.
Yeah.
I did criminal and traffic defense for many, many years, and I worked with a lot of police officers and sheriff's deputies, and I know that confusion was typically what led them to err on the side of caution. And when they saw that you had something, they tended to be much more like, oh, well, I don't know, he's got something that said receipt notice USCIS. I figure that must be something official, because they just didn't want to get involved with it. And even with all that's changed, I think that still is probably the case, at least locally, with local law enforcement. So if you have stuff, have it with you, just in case. All right?
No, absolutely. 100%.
All right.
Harsheen, how are you? I'm well. I hope you're doing well as well. It's been a while.
What's going on, buddy?
All right. He has a question. I have a friend. He was on a work permit working with a bank. He was supposed to get his green card, which he didn't. He's going back to his country back in November. I gave him your detail to speak with you. Thank you, Harsheen, for referring your friend to us. I really appreciate it. I hope you and your wife are doing well and enjoying married life. It's been a few years now, though. It's been, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, perhaps.
Okay, well,
but appreciate the referral.
Appreciate the referral, absolutely. Jay here wants to know, how long does it take to get the conditions on your green card removed?
Forever. No, it doesn't. So this person is asking, Jay is asking, how long does it take to get his 10-year green card? He has a conditional lawful permanent resident card. It's good for 2 years. It's based on marriage. And prior to the expiration of that 2-year conditional resident card, conditional residents have to file an I-751 petition to remove those conditions in that 90-day window before that 2-year card expires. So the question is, how long is it going to take for me to get my 10-year card after I file my I-751 petition? And Jay, when you file that, and for all of you who are filing your I-751 petition, once you file it and it's received by USCIS, USCIS will send you a receipt notice. The receipt notice is going to show that you filed your I-751 and that you paid the fee. And then it's also going to have language on there that states that the receipt notice is extending your permanent resident status by 48 months. So it used to be 1 year back in the day, when I was a lot younger. Then it went up to 2 years. And then I think it skipped over 3 and went directly to 48 months. So you can, you might say that it can take at least 48 months for you to get your 10-year green card. Now, for those of you who are freaking out there, yeah, that's a really long time to wait to get that 10-year card. Here is the $1 million tip though. Jay, when it's time as in the time has arrived for you to be able to be eligible to apply for naturalization, then you can file your N-400 even though you still have an I-751 petition pending. So there is my $1 million tip for Jay and for all of the others out there who are in this situation. Again, when I say when you're eligible because it's time for you to apply for U.S. citizenship. But again, remember, you have to be otherwise eligible, right? Like, Jay, don't file if you haven't filed your taxes. Don't file if you haven't supported your dependents. Don't file if you have a claim to U.S. I mean, so you have to be otherwise eligible for naturalization. And that's going to be the vast majority of you. Hopefully that answers your question, Jay.
Okay, let's see here. We just had a bunch of questions load up, and which pushed everyone back down.
And for those of you, while John's bringing those questions up, we would really appreciate it if you liked and follow. If you think this information would be helpful for your friends and family, please share.
Yes. Okay, Malik here wanted to know if a courthouse marriage is enough to file for a green card, or what other proof would I need?
A courthouse marriage. So this is an interesting thing that you guys do sometimes. We say, okay, we need proof of your bona fide marriage and relationship. We need proof that this is a real marriage. And 9 times out of 10, you guys are like, oh yes, I have my marriage certificate right here. Your marriage certificate is not proof that you have a bona fide marriage, right? Any 2 people can go get a marriage license, sign the paper, do whatever to get married in front of the we used to call it the justice of the peace, the guy at the courthouse, or the woman at the courthouse, and then they're married, and you have the piece of paper and then you're married. But you have to, for immigration purposes, like John and I didn't have to do this. We didn't have to show anybody that we had a real marriage and this is like a real relationship, because we're not going through the immigration process. But for those of you who are trying to become permanent residents, and you're doing that based on your marriage to your U.S. citizen spouse or your lawful permanent resident spouse, you do have to show that, hey, I'm not marrying this person because I just want the green card. I'm marrying this person because we are in a real relationship. We live together. Hopefully we share our finances. We commingle our finances. We do things together. We're a married couple. We do things like married couples do. Your typical average married couple, right? So those are the things that you need. A joint bank account, perhaps. You're on the lease. You have photos of some of the things going on in your life. Everybody has a bunch of photos, right? It's not the most powerful evidence to show that it's a real marriage and a real relationship, but it rounds it out, right? You have joint health and car insurance. You have a rental insurance policy. These are all things. They want to see things that are in both names. Commingled finances, I would say, is probably one of the highest forms of evidence to show that it's a bona fide marriage and relationship. Of course, if you have children, the children's birth certificates, and those types of things. So hopefully that answers your question. So no, not just your marriage certificate. Marriage certificate is great. You need that marriage certificate to show that you're actually legally married, but it is not enough, that one piece of paper, to show that you are in a bona fide marriage and relationship with your spouse.
And I mean, it is a legit marriage certificate, if that was your question. It does count as a marriage.
It counts, yeah.
But yeah, you're going to have to show all the other things. Rather named a bunch of them. That was, good ones. I was trying to think if I could add anything. If you have life insurance, that your spouse is your named beneficiary.
Right.
Or did you say that one? That's another good one.
Life insurance. Yes. Yeah, life insurance. Yeah. Named beneficiary.
I mean, if you're in a fake marriage, you wouldn't name that fake person, that fake spouse, as a beneficiary of your entire estate if you died.
Yeah.
You would only do that to somebody that was legitimately your spouse.
And John here, he is a criminal defense attorney, and he has done several marriage fraud defense cases. And we were in a time period where marriage fraud was really rampant where we are.
Yep.
And so we're quite familiar with what they look for, what the requirements are. We're familiar with the timeline, you know, like the red flags for an immigration officer when they look at your case. And so
yeah, we had a flurry of cases here for a while. It was a perfect environment for these fraud cases to come. We were in a military town in Norfolk, and we're in a resort town with Virginia Beach. And so we have a bunch of folks in the military, and we have a bunch of J1 visa holders. And there was a time period where these brokers were just putting these people together like over and over and over again, so that the J1 person could apply for a green card and the military person could get extra housing money, because if they were married, they got more money for their housing. And so they all wanted
basic allowance for housing.
Basic allowance for housing. That's right.
I remember I told my dad that, and he said, that's what they've been doing, getting that basic allowance for housing.
Well,
they've even like married their first cousins in order to get that.
Yeah,
basic allowance for
that's
housing.
right. But in any event, yeah, this came up, and you know, we had a series of federal jury trials, and this came up a lot about, you know, the U.S. attorneys asking, well, witnesses, did you ever see them, you know, walking together on the beach? You hung out with them. Did you ever see them holding hands and this kind of thing? And, you know, those things actually are not required. You know, you don't have to get married for love, believe it or not. That's not something that's required. It's just that you can't get married in order to get an immigration benefit. You can get married for any other reason you want, but you can't get married for that reason. Okay.
Right. And just to give an example, you can get married for companionship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. You can get married for companionship. You can get married because you want, it's more economically advantageous for you both to be under one household. There are a couple of others, but not too many others.
So essentially, when we were talking about all those things that we show that it's a bona fide marriage, those are all things that are tending to show that you are in fact together for some reason that doesn't have anything to do with it. You didn't do it so that one of you could get an immigration benefit. That's not why you were getting married. That just happens to be a byproduct of the marriage. That's something that has to happen now. Oh, well, we're married and we're going to live in the United States. We're going to need to do this immigration part of this so that you can stay here lawfully.
Right. Okay. So Abdullah says, it's always good to see me. Thank you for the consultation. Yes, Abdullah has been trying to reach me. I sent you an email to tell you that I was going to look up some things, and I apologize. I just got back into town. So I got you tomorrow, Abdullah. But thanks for coming to our Facebook and saying hello. And whoever's giving all the love up on TikTok, thank you so much. I can't tell, but we're getting a lot of hearts. And
okay, the next question we had here: the petitioner is to be scheduled for biometric for an I-130 for spouse living abroad. Is that normal?
That I have heard of this happening. Biometrics for the petitioner. How did you get your status here in the United States? That is not normal. No.
Not normal.
But I have seen this. So we're on our American Immigration Lawyers Association listserv DC chapter, and it's a flurry of really unorthodox things that are happening. And I did see this question come up in our listserv that the petitioner was being asked to go to the local immigration office to get their biometrics done. So that's really interesting. Now, there is one reason why an I-130 petition would be denied, and that's based on very specific criminal history of the petitioner. If the petitioner has any type of criminal record history regarding abuse of children, then that can cause an issue with being the petitioner, anything that has to do with any type of abuse of children. So I'm not saying that that is what is happening here, but that's what I'm thinking about right now. But no, that's just not a typical thing to have the petitioner get biometric. So please let us know what happens. Come back and let us know.
Okay. So Tanya has a question here, and I like one of the words in here. It's a word you don't see used very often. Should I upload a new passport to the I-130 portal if the old one expires whilst the I-130 is pending? So
that is an older word.
That's
not used.
That's sort of an old English.
So they want to know whether to upload.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Should I upload a new passport to the I-130 portal if the old one expires while the I-130 is still pending?
So if you are the petitioner, yeah, I would upload the new passport if that's what you're using to show that you are a U.S. citizen. If you are the beneficiary, you do not necessarily have to upload a new passport.
All right. And Erzme just weighs in to say that the new portal is hard and it keeps crashing. It's stressing out.
Yeah. It's we've definitely experienced that.
This is a problem with many portals.
Not just that one, right? Yeah. Guys, we still paper file our I-130 petition because of that. And there are limited circumstances where we file the I-130 petition via e-file, but we still paper file the I-130 petition. So little tip for those of you who are thinking about using the portal, using E-Verify for the I-130 petition. It's just not there yet. The N400 is the only solid e-filing portal because it was the first one, so it works the best.
Yeah, we're talking paper, and if you joined us late, be advised that at the end of October, paper checks and money orders are not going to be taken anymore. Okay, Khan wants to know, we get this several times every Wednesday. Is it safe to travel abroad with a green card these days?
Oh boy. Okay. Let me start off by saying that what we have been saying for a couple of months now, it probably doesn't apply to a lot of you, right? But I actually just saw a story about a woman who she was arrested coming back into the United States as a long-term permanent resident for a 20-year-old marijuana conviction. So I'll lead with that. It was a really sad story. She has 3 daughters, the sad story. Her attorney was able to get that marijuana conviction expunged, but she did spend, I think a month in jail while that was ongoing. So we always say to kind of do a multiple point, ask yourself several questions, a multiple point test. What are we calling it? A multiple point inquiry into your immigration history and into your history here in the United States. Number one, do you have a marijuana conviction? Do not travel if you have a marijuana conviction. I don't care if It was 100 years ago. Just don't do it. You're going to have a problem coming in. So admitting to marijuana use,
drugs are trouble.
Drugs are trouble. If you have any other type of arrest, charge, or conviction, you better make sure that you are not inadmissible, and they do not make you inadmissible to come back and enter the United States.
Don't pay for and book the flight yet.
Yeah. So let's say you have a theft charge, and you got that theft charge, right after you got your green card. Don't travel. Like, you are going to be inadmissible for that. So those are two things. The third is, have you ever abandoned your green card? If in the past you've abandoned your green card, or maybe you stayed out too long the last time, but they allowed you to come in. Now you're thinking about going back out again. Really think about that, and make sure that you have everything in order to show that you did not abandon your green card. Okay. So the fourth thing, we talked about criminal charges. We talked about marijuana use. The fourth thing is, if you are on a 2-year green card and you have not yet filed your I-7, this is a new one. You have not yet filed your I-751, and your 2-year card is about to expire. Be prepared to answer questions about why you haven't filed that I-751. You do have up until the day before your 2-year card expires. Why haven't you filed your I-751? Are you still living with your U.S. citizen or your lawful permanent resident spouse? Be prepared for those types of questions. And if you're not together with the person who, filed the petition for you, and you have not yet removed the conditions on your green card, I would seriously think about whether you want to travel if you are not living with this person any longer.
Yeah. And your question said, these days, and that's a good question. And I would add a point to that even if you have traveled in the past,
yeah, that's a good point,
and everything was fine, don't presume that it's okay. Like, well, yeah, I do have that conviction, but I've left the country and come back in before, and it was never a problem.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rest on that. I would definitely reevaluate everything, because it's a different playing field right now. You need to be more careful than that. And I wouldn't just presume that. So if you have any of those, or you're unsure about any of those things, it's worth an immigration consultation with an immigration attorney, just to make sure.
And if if you have a simple possession marijuana conviction, then you may think about applying for U.S. citizenship. There is the issue of the U.S. citizenship, but your case, we need to evaluate your case. We need to evaluate the facts of your case. We need to evaluate your whole history. Last thing I'm going to add there is, did you commit any type of fraud in getting your green card?
Yeah.
Is there something that that you pulled one over on the State Department, and they gave you an immigrant visa, but you really shouldn't have gotten that immigrant visa? Why, whatever the reason was, right? It's because you made a misrepresentation. You were actually married when you came in as a permanent resident, and you were supposed to be unmarried. That's a very common one. So these are the questions to ask yourself. Again, not trying to scare anyone. This was a very common question. And the qualifier of these days is a really good one, because there is much, much more scrutiny. And again, we're telling you all of this so and if any of this is kind of making you think, okay, yeah, I really need to make sure that I'm good there, then you need to consult with an immigration attorney, see if you're eligible for U.S. citizenship, that could potentially cure these issues. But the vast majority of you should be fine.
Right. But, be careful. And not to beat this to death, but also, just be careful with these criminal convictions, because a lot of people think they don't have a criminal conviction
This is
because it
yeah.
got dismissed. And I say this every week because I always want to remind everyone of this, that even if a case was dismissed, a charge was dismissed, if it was dismissed because of something that you had to do, like an anger management class, or you had to pay your fines and court costs within a certain time, or you had to be of good behavior for a certain time, or you had to do a drug counseling class or anything like that. If there was some condition that was put on you and you had to do that thing, and then after you did that thing, only then did they agree to dismiss the charge, that still is a conviction for immigration purposes. So you might be thinking, oh yeah, I went to court for, domestic assault and battery. My husband and I had a fight. We were drinking. It was a bad night, and everything was fine. I went to court. I told the judge what happened, and the judge sent me to do some marriage counseling and an anger management class. And a year later, we went back, and the charge was dismissed, and everything was fine. In your head, you're thinking, I don't have any conviction. I don't have any problem. That still is going to be a lingering conviction for immigration. Whether it's a problem or not, depends on what you're doing. But those are the things you got to be really, really careful about, where you think something is gone and it's not. All right. So if you have anything like that, it is worth the time and money to consult with an immigration attorney to make sure that you're not making a huge, huge misstep that's going to cause you a fatal problem.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, we've seen it. It's wow.
Yeah, it's bad. Getting your freedom taken away is not good. And if you have your conviction is resolved, right? You have your class 1 misdemeanor reckless driving. It's done. You paid the fine. Seriously consider going and getting a certified disposition of that to show that it's done and you paid the fine. Whatever it is, if it's an assault and battery, if it's petty theft, embezzlement. I'm just going to jump in here and say theft, embezzlement, any of those types of crimes, you have got to be careful. Not kidding. You've got to be kidding if you're going to leave the country with this. But what I was going to say, you have to be really careful with those types of convictions when you're coming back in as a permanent resident. All right.
All righty. Let's see if we can grab another one here. I did my N400 interview on April 1st.
Congratulations.
But on April 2nd, the website shows that the oath ceremony was canceled. There's no question attached to that. I guess maybe they're just concerned with what they should do.
Yeah. So April 1st, April 2nd, April, May, June, July. I mean, it's 3-4 months, depending on where the jurisdiction is. That's a little bit long for an N400 oath ceremony. I would make an 800 inquiry and try to find out about it. Now you can, if nothing happens, you can make that inquiry with USCIS. And then if nothing happens still, then you can get in contact with your congressperson and ask them to make a congressional inquiry on your behalf. Those would be the 2 next steps in order to follow up on that and chase that down.
Yeah, going back for just a minute, I was just thinking of an example like the fraud and misrepresentation. Those are really really bad areas, along with drugs. I mean, making a false misrepresentation to a law enforcement officer is a problem. Resisting arrest is not. So like if you're being conniving and you're lying to the police officer, making a materially false statement to them, that's more of a problem than if they try to put handcuffs on you and you resist the arrest, because it just any crimes that include mens rea, that include a criminal state of mind that you had at the time, are always going to be worse than the ones that were just tempers flared and something happened. Just that's another side.
They're both bad.
They're both bad, but the ones that were calculated are really bad. Just as a general rule.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Do we have time for one more? We are
We
9 o'clock
let's
here.
grab one more. Oh, it's been almost 5 months.
Oh yeah.
If you're ready to sue the government, give us a call.
Yeah, sorry, that was the second part of that question. So yeah, it's been 5 months now.
Let's file a lawsuit. Let's get it resolved. But first, you definitely should, obviously you're making inquiries, but make a congressional inquiry.
okay. Let's see. This is the same.
And sometimes we have to force the Department of Homeland Security to do its job. And so filing a lawsuit, if they're not responding, may be the best solution there.
Okay, one T-Rex here wants to know, says, hello, my extension letter misspelled my name. How do I correct that?
Oh, extension letter, I-751 extension letter misspelled. I mean, you can go and you can try to get in touch with USCIS through the 1-800 number. That's unfortunate. So if it was your fault, why would you misspell your own name on the application? You probably didn't. So it's probably not your fault. It sounds like it's a service error, but you do need to reach back out to them and try to get them to correct it. But if your name is Ricardo and they spelled your name with 2 C's, you kind of got to make a judgment call, right? Like, do I go through this hassle of getting my I-751 petition receipt notice changed and updated, or do I just deal with this misspelling until I can file for naturalization? It just depends. We do like to fix things because you don't want your 10-year card to come in that misspelled name. And I'm assuming this is an I-751, and it can also be an I-90 as well.
Yeah, that's, we see this little things like this from from time to time throughout the years, and little clerical errors like that are kind of pesky because then they populate other places in the case and follow you. And so the sooner you can fix it, great.
Right.
Good luck.
Absolutely.
Okay, I felt like that was kind of a low ending, but that is what it is. It's just one of those things. It's like you go to an oath ceremony, and there's always somebody there who, is talking to the people afterward because their name is misspelled and they can't believe it. Their naturalization certificate has an error on it, like, what a bummer. Like,
You're going to have to pay for that too, because, when you're at your N400 interview, the officer is going to show you the iPad and make any changes need to be made here. And if you don't catch the error, then that's going to be on you. If it's still an error because they made the error, then they may pay for that replacement N400 certificate of naturalization. But yeah.
Okay, guys.
All right.
It's past 9. We're done. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We love giving info out. It's not legal advice, of course. It's just informational and educational information. We love answering the questions, and we really, really love doing it because we want to help you all, rather than just saying that when we see people that are struggling right now, we feel kind of responsible for that in a way, because we feel like, gosh, we could have done more to convince them to get their stuff wrapped up and done sooner. And now it's more difficult, and it will continue to get more difficult.
Yep.
At least in the next couple of years. It's going to be several years before any change. And even then, you never know. Every election, we don't know what the result will be. So the window's open right now. That hole in the line is right there. You got the ball. Hit it. All right. Call us and let's get this thing done. All right.
All right, guys.
All right, guys.
Take care. See you next week.
2 thumbs up. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.